Shabbat Shalom, everybody. We'll get started in a few moments. If you want to get your candles ready and find a spot to find your focus, to get settled for Shabbat as we'll share in Shabbat together. Please take that moment to get what you need so that we can begin our service together.
Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It's wonderful to be back. My family was able to be away for the last little over a week, and I'm grateful that Kinder Kathy had the chance to offer her teaching and to lead our service, but it also feels good to be back and to be with you and to be together on Shabbat again, back into our routine. And I want to also point out, because I know that they are having a special dinner at this moment and therefore not watching us, that it is the Sheftel's 60th anniversary today, and so we invite you. Many of you know Stan and Janice, and we invite you to reach out to them and wish them a mazel tov on 6 decades together, sharing their life, and much of it sharing that life with us here at Temple. So happy anniversary, mazel tov to the Sheftels, and we'll think of them and share some of that joy as we begin our Shabbat. Page 2 in our prayer books, if you have your prayer book with you, or if you're following along with the online versions. As we'll share our blessings over our Shabbat candles, we encourage you to light your candles with us.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, Shel Shabbat.
We turn to the words of our Psalms as we sing unto God. We find joy in this moment. Page 13 in our prayer book, followed by the words of Lecha Dodi, found on page 20, our prayer to help us reflect back on our week. Join with us.
Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash, Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. Sing unto God, all the earth, a new song. I will sing unto God a new song. Sing unto God, and we'll all all sing along, all the earth, a new song unto God. Shiru l'Adonai kol haaretz, Shiru l'Adonai shir chadash. I will sing unto God a new song.
Page 20.
Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. 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 Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Hishmiyanu el hamiuchad, Adonai echad, Shema echad, L'Shemo tiferet v'alitila. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, kiva orech uri, shadaberi, kavod Adonai alak niknitla. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Please rise and face the entrance to your home. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'sochola, toch emuneh am segula, boi chala, boi chala. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. Page 26 for the Chatzi Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yikadash Shemei Rabbah, Be'alma divrach yirotei v'yamlich machuti, v'chayechon uv'mo yomechon uv'chayedecho beit Yisrael, Bagala uv'izman kari v'meru. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevarach, Le'alam u'ame'amaya yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitroma, v'yitnasi, v'yitadar, v'yitali, v'yitalal, Shemei dekudesha barichu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbichata v'nechemata, Damiran be'alma v'yimaru. Amen.
Ki yishmera Shabbat el yishmerenu. Ot hilel me ad beini uvenu. May Shabbat be a sign for us, between God and us, that we keep it together. We watch Shabbat and God watches over us. May this day be blessed with that seal as we rise and face east for the words of our Baruch Hu, our call to be a community together and to worship together. In our prayer books, page 28.
Lai la 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 la. Lai la 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 la. Lai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Yai la 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 la. Baruch hu et Adonai Hamevorach. Baruch Adonai Hamevorach, Hamevorach leolam va'id. Hamevorach, Hamevorach leolam va'id.
Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom this evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom this evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim.
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amachavta Amchavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta, Otanu limadeta. Aken Adonai Eloheinu b'shokbeinu, Ugumeinu Masiach b'chukacha, V'nismach b'divrei Torotecha, U'mitzvotecha le'olam va'id. Ki chem chayinu ve'orach hayameinu uvahim nege yomam v'layla nege yomam v'layla ve'ahavatcha tasir mimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai Ohiv Amo Yisrael Ohiv Amo Yisrael Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad Baruch Shem Kivod Malchuto Le'olam Va'ed.
You can be seated if you would like. Page 36, Via Hafta.
Also found on page 154 if you're using the larger book. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol meodecha v'hayu hadavarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom alavavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha u'laftecha v'derech u'v'shochbecha u'v'kumecha u'kshartam le'ot ayadecha v'hayu le'totafot b'neinecha u'ktavtam al mezuzot beitecha u'visharecha Leman tizkaru v'asitem et kol mitzvotai v'yitem kedoshim lelohechem Ani Adonai Elohechem Asher otzeiti etchem eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem lelohim Ani Adonai Elohechem.
I was reminded, or taught, I would say, by a colleague earlier this week that we have to constantly remind ourselves at times like this that Our job is not just to remember the legacy of our people, but to extend the legacy of our people. That we must continue to do what has been done before. And that we're not just here to remember history, but to relive it, to make history, to continue to march forward, so that one day those who come after us will look back and learn from our example as well. And so we do that as we look towards these days and think about what words like freedom and promise and hope mean. A reading before we share the words once shared by our people as they found freedom for the first time, words that we share hopefully throughout this year as well. Standing on the parted shores of history, we still believe what we were taught before ever we stood at Sinai's foot, that wherever we go, it is eternally Egypt, that there is a better place, a promised land, that the winding way to that promise passes through the wilderness, and there's no way to get from here to there except by joining hands and marching together. Mi Chamocha, page 40, or page 158.
Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot, Hosef ele, nora tehilot, Hosef ele, Malachutecha, Ra'uvanecha, Vokei Hayam, Lifnei Moshe u'Miriam, Zelianu ve'amaru, Adonai imloch, Adonai imloch, Le'olam va'ed.
Our prayer to find peace in the evening, a prayer we share over our loved ones, our children, our spouses, each other, that we find in this evening nothing that scares us, but rather hope and optimism, and most importantly, shalom, a sense of peace.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom, v'ha'amidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shalomecha, fros aleinu sukat shalomecha, amen. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right, O Adonai. Amen. Amen, amen. Amen, amen, amen. O Adonai. Amen. Amen, amen. Amen, amen, amen. O Adonai.
We turn now to page 46 as we rise and face our ark, facing east if you're in your home, as we turn to the words that ask us to focus on our ancestors, but also to focus on ourselves. What is it that we are praying for on this particular Shabbat? Whether that be health for someone who we know is sick, peace for someone who we know is struggling, or perhaps something in our own life that we've been looking toward. We begin page 46.
Adonai sifatai tiftach ufi yagita hilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avoteinu v'imotenu. Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanara, Eloyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chasdei Avot V'Yimahot, Umevi Geula Lifnei B'neihem, L'man Shemo Be'ahava. Melech Ozer u'Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezra Tzara. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atah, Rav le'Hoshia, Morid hatal. Mechakel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim verafech olim, Umatir asurim, Umekaye emunato, Lishenei afar, Micha mocha ba'al gevurot, Umido melach, Melech memit umechaye, umatzmiach Yeshua. V'ne'eman atah lahachayot hakol, Baruch atah Adonai, mechaye hakol.
Where might I go to find you, exalted, hidden one, God? Yet where would I not go to find you, ever-present and eternal one? My heart cries out to you, and I plead, please draw near to me. The moment I reach out for you, I find you reaching in for me. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Our prayer for the greatest sense of peace to find its way to our world. Shalom Rav, page 60.
Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. 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 Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki atahu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
We take a moment for our own personal prayers.
shalom b'maromav uyaseh shalom aleinu v'yakov Yisrael v'yakov yoshvei tevil v'yimaru amen v'yimaru amen v'yimaru amen v'yimaru amen.
Prayer Oseh Shalom asks God to place peace upon us and our world. And the prayer Mishaberach, page 253, is our prayer to extend from that prayer for peace, a sense of peace and wholeness and healing, to all of those who are sick and suffering in this moment. In these days, that extends to those loved ones who may or may not be able to visit their spouses and children and parents in the hospital or in a nursing home, or perhaps are just separated by miles. And so we know that the suffering gets extended not only to those who are the patients, but those who are the friends and family of the patients longing to be with them. We wish for all of you a sense of wholeness, a sense that this prayer can transport you to where you would like to be with those who are in need of healing.
Mishaberach avotenu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen.
Please feel free to share the name aloud or in a chat.
Mishaberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
We wish all of those who are working their way towards healing a refuah shlema prayer that they become their fullest self once again. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. It is August, as you well know, and that normally means that the halls of Target and Walmart and now Amazon are filled with school supplies as kids get lists from their teachers telling them what their parents must buy them this year in order for them to be up to par with what's needed for their school assignments. We often talk about a feeling of going from school into summer, but there is also an excitement about moving into a new school year, about moving up a grade and getting those school supplies. And in our house this year, it means that there is excitement about our oldest, Hannah, who will begin middle school this year, and about our youngest, Ezra, who will begin kindergarten with our own Shelby Dietrich, who we've already tested with one of our children to be and know to be a wonderful kindergarten teacher. But this year, the talk is not in our family about pencil boxes or calculators. It's about a desk, because this year we decided the thing that our kids need most, without any teacher telling us, is a desk in our house. Because whether it's on the first day of school or at some point when the school year has begun, we believe part of our children's school year will be taking place in our basement. It is yet another shift from excitement about the promise of being out and engaging, exploring the world, to the protection of being isolated in one's home. The truth is, Carrie and I were relieved when the school district made the decision for us. Not only because it showed concern for our child's health, but because it meant we no longer had to struggle with that question. Would we offer the promise of the world to our children, or would we have to choose the protection of our home? We were glad that difficult decision was made for us. Parshat Akev, the Torah portion this week, poses the same challenge. In one of his famous speeches, Moses is so excited about the promised land that he paints a beautiful picture for the Israelites. He says, God will favor you and bless you. You will multiply in number. You will have so much grain and so much wine and so much oil, you won't know what to do with it. He even promises, there will be no sterile male or female among you or among your livestock, and God will ward off all sickness from among your people. Things we know to be impossible. Yet this is so often how we look out at the world. In conversations with people over these past months, I find that much of what we are mourning is the ideal. We look out at the world as our promised land. We don't envision ourselves ever being sick or troubled. We see things in their fullness. We imagine sanctuaries filled with people at the holidays, restaurants with the best food, vacations that leave lasting memories. It's also how we talk to our children about school. And all of it a little less than true. Middle school is great, we tell them. You'll love kindergarten. You get to learn how to read and make new friends, even if we cannot promise that that will happen. So often we envision the promised land as a perfect land, a place where everyone and everything is plentiful and fertile and happy and abundant. But even in the best of years, that is not in our control. Moses and the Torah this week seem to know this. And this week, this year, reading this Torah portion, I found a lesson I had not seen before. In that same speech, at the very end, in verse 26 of chapter 7 of Deuteronomy, we hear the words, Lo tavi to'eva el beitecha. You must not bring an abhorrent thing into your house, or you will become like it yourself. After promising everything to be perfect, it seems that the only thing that Moses can really guarantee is in our control is our home. We, in fact, cannot guarantee that illness will end or that war will cease, but our homes, the little piece of the world that is under our control, in that space, perhaps, we have a responsibility. In that space, we have control and authority. In that sacred space that we create, that is where we are to make sure that nothing abhorrent happens. Without recognizing this verse specifically over these past months, I find it's become a knee-jerk reaction, a learned habit in 2020. When the illness spreads, we know now to retreat to our homes, to keep that abhorrent thing from entering. We protect our homes now because they protect us. And not just from this virus. It is in our homes where we have always put some of our hope that we are safe. We pray it is there of all places that we are safe from illness and from natural disaster. It's also in our homes where we know we will be safe from social ills, from abhorrent attitudes, anti-Semitism and racism and sexism. These may be accepted as unfortunate parts of society, but not in our homes. We promise that in our homes, these elements won't exist. Looking into the Torah, the rabbis understood the phrase, Lo tavi to'eva el beitecha, do not bring anything abhorrent into your home, to refer to idol worship. They envisioned our home as a place where we can be ourselves, not followers of something else. I think we often make our homes in this vein as well. We personalize our walls, we place signs of our tradition on our shelves to proudly declare that we are Jewish, even if when we walk in the streets, we like to be religiously anonymous. Our homes reflect us, not someone else. And in years like this one, years when plagues of illness and social hatred seem to exist well beyond the pages of the Bible, retreating to our safe space, to our home, where we can keep everything abhorrent to us on the outside, makes a ton of sense. Which is why I have found, as I read this Torah portion this week, and as I've watched a number of people in our community especially take on particular actions outside of their home, that I've become incredibly grateful for the courage and the vision that they've had to look beyond themselves. I know that in the midst of the decisions I've been thinking about as a parent and spouse, as well as in my role as a rabbi, that my overwhelming focus, my obsession perhaps, has been on the houses that I live in. I have constantly asked whether my basement would be suitable to become my child's schoolhouse, whether our synagogue, our house of worship, is doing what we can to keep our community safe from those abhorrent things outside its walls. I can see how little time I have been able to devote to things outside these houses. And this year, I think we all have to be okay with that for each of us. That we know that the task upon us is large and that our homes are our first priority, because it is perhaps our homes that will keep us safe. But that is what makes me ever more grateful for the people who have had the courage and commitment to look beyond their own home in these last weeks and months. The people who have stepped up to make sure that our community does not only worry about the abhorrent nature of the pandemic or of anti-Semitism that threatens our particular house, but who also devoted hours to anti-racism, which threatens our neighbors' houses, who have looked out at the neighbor who's ill, who have found the neighbor who's hungry. This is not upon all of us, and perhaps this year of all years we might forgive ourselves and be particularly gentle, as we know that we all have a lot on our plate. But for those who have found a way, perhaps those who are not worried about children in the school they will attend or how they will learn to be a middle school or kindergartner, or those who are not worried about a spouse or a parent, those who have found a way to get their house in order to be safe, I've been incredibly moved by the gift you've given us, those of us who haven't been able to spend our time that way. I found myself caught in watching the panel discussion, which I admit I have not finished yet, that the JCBA hosted last week. Even though I'm only halfway through it, I've already learned a lot, and I'm so grateful that a number of leaders in our community took the time away from their own homes to pull together wonderful speakers, members of the Black community in Akron, leaders who could speak to us specifically as their Jewish neighbors and help us to understand what their experience is like this year. Remind us not to get stuck in the pandemic or stuck at our own address, but to look out at what we would be focused on if we weren't worried about all of those things. At a time when we are constantly checking our own symptoms, I'm inspired by the congregant who realized that someone in our congregation was overwhelmed with fear of using technology and offered to teach her how to use it herself. I'm in awe of the neighbor who saw the abhorrence of ignorance and boredom in the neighborhood kids as they walked around the streets, no longer in school, no summer camps to attend, and decided to drop off books at their doorsteps or put out board games with a sign that said, "Please take these home." We fend off the abhorrence of hunger when we drop groceries at a friend's house, and perhaps most prevalent these days, the abhorrence of isolation when we reach out to connect with someone we otherwise would not. It is a year when we should be forgiving of ourselves, but that doesn't mean that we can't also be immensely grateful for those who have found the time or had the time to focus beyond the walls of their own homes. Moses set the bar this week by reminding us that sometimes the absolute best we can do is to keep that which we despise, that which scares us or threatens our life, on the other side of our front door. For most of us, I know for myself, this often feels like a full-time job this year. For those who have found the voice and the vision to protect another's home, to shut out racism, to infuse learning where it is absent, to provide food to the hungry and companionship to the lonely, I hope we can share our gratitude for what you have been able to achieve with prayers that sooner than later we will be able to meet you in all of these endeavors. As we pray for a healthier year, a safer year, a year in which we can truly have a Shabbat in which we know Shalom is present. Shabbat Shalom. Continue in our prayer books, page 282, as we rise and face east once again for our Aleinu.
Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latekenu liyotzer reshit, shelo asanu kegoye haratzot, velo asamanu kamishbechot adama, shelo samchalkenu kahem v'goralenu kechol hamonam, v'anachnu korim, umishtachavim umodim, lifnei melech malchei hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, v'nemar v'haya Adonai, l'melech al kol haaretz, bayom hahu yiyeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad.
Can be seated if you were standing. We take a moment now to think about those loved ones that we've lost as our hearts turn towards those who've departed this earth, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, our own loved ones, the martyrs of our people, and those of every race and every nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss and of life and death. Before we share the names of those whom we know personally in our community, as we do every week, as citizens of this world, I think it's fitting we take note of those in Lebanon who've suffered an immense tragedy this week, great loss of life, and we turn our hearts in their direction as we think of all of those who are suffering this week, much as we do when we think about those that we've loved and lost. In our community, we remember those that we lost in this past month, a period of Shloshim, Mel Stern, Sarah Horvitz, and David Rabinowitz. And we remember those that we lost at this season in years past, Rose Smith Aronson, Kamal Attackman, Esther R. Barnett, John Barone, Albert Bello, Rabbi Samuel Berman, Barbara Berman, Dolly Droz, Ann Ehrenberg, Ida Engelson, L.G. Fetterman, Harry Feynman, Bernard Fishman, Morris Glick, Maurice E. Goldman, Doris Marks Green, David Greenberg, Dorothy Horton, Kaylette Jaffe, Jack Karn, Estelle Klein, Gertrude Kotler, Jean Lazaro, Dorothy Levy, Rita Lakshan, Benjamin Pinsky, Francis Rosenfeld, Jean Rubin, Hannah Schechter, Samuel M. Sokol, William C. Solomon, Felix Stadner, David Tucholsky, Robert I. Union, Anna Weisbrot, Elizabeth Wallach, Catherine Webb, Joseph Zlotsever. If there are names that you would like to add to our yahrzeit list, we encourage you to say their names aloud. As we turn to page 294, and those who would like may rise as we share the words of Mourner's Kaddish. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah. V'alma divarach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael. B'agala uv'izman kariv v'maru amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam olmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudesha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tush b'chata v'nechemata. Da'amiran bi'alma v'yimru, Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru, Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'yimru, Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to us, to all Israel, to all the world, and especially those who are remembering their loved ones, as we say, Amen. And we invite you to connect with those around you, to connect with us. One of the things that we miss most, I think I can say safely, is the ability to see you and connect with everybody. And so we can do that as best we can virtually as we bless each other with the words of the priests. May God bless you and keep you. May God's presence be with you and be gracious unto you. May we know that when we are in our homes and when we are protecting them and when we are helping our loved ones and friends protect their homes, that we are in fact doing divine work, bringing God into our world, and we pray that it brings a sense of peace.
Amen.
We'll join together in Kiddush and Motzi, page 5 in your prayer book, if you would like to follow along.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei pari hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, b'shabbat kodesho b'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron l'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom tehila, l'mikrae kodesh, zecher l'tziat Mitzrayim, ki vanu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, v'shabbat kodshecha, be'ahava uvratzon, hinchaltanu, baruch atah Adonai, mekadesh ha'shabbat, Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Before we close with Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, a couple quick announcements. That's how you know it's really getting back to normal, as we have announcements now. So this Thursday, the 13th, at 7 p.m. is our Jewish-Muslim dialogue. The topic is religious persecution in Kashmir. And so we encourage you to join us. This has been an ongoing series for, I believe, 3 or 4 years now. And we hope that you'll join us. Perhaps those of you who could never make it in person, you can make it virtually now. On the 21st, 2 weeks from tonight, we are excited that we have planned a very safe but in-person drive-in Shabbat. So think drive-in movie, but the movie is Shabbat Services, and you're here at Temple in our parking lot. You'll be getting an email soon with the details. We do have limited spots because we are going to spread out and keep us separate from each other, but yet loosely in the same space. And so if you would like to join us on the 21st, it would be wonderful to be able to see people and hear people as we come together in our parking lot, and hopefully we'll have good weather. And finally, we posted this morning on our Facebook page, we have the opportunity to have an online tour of Israel. It's an amazing opportunity to go to Israel for just $50, and you don't have to pack your bags or get on a long flight. We have our tour guide that we got to know and love when we took our congregational trip 2 years ago. Sherry Robbins has offered to lead us on a virtual tour specifically around the ways that Israelis experience the holidays, which is a wonderful experience that most of us would never get unless we lived in Israel for a year. would really never get to experience. So it's a great opportunity. There is a charge for the class, and we put a straw poll on Facebook to see what the interest was so that we can commit to Sherry's time. So please, if you would like to take that class, it'll be on Wednesdays during the lunch hour starting in mid-September, right before Rosh Hashanah, and we need to know if there's significant interest. So please go on Facebook and let us know if you're interested. Shabbat Shalom to everybody. We hope it is a wonderful Shabbat, and we'll close with the words Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu.
Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kulam. Salam Aleinu ve'al kolam, salam, salam, salam Aleinu ve'al kolam, salam, salam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kulam. Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, Od Yavo Shalom Aleinu, ve'al kulam. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.